We have only one country, Sierra Leone, and we are all one people.
The future of Sierra Leone. First of all, let me take you through some recent comments after the election. Have a look at this, first of all.
Well, we started off with the election of Julius Maada Bio of Sierra Leone as the new president of that country. And now, to get some more insight on the politics of Sierra Leone, I'm joined by Bernadette Camara. She's an analyst and a native of Sierra Leone. Ms. Camara, welcome back to Africa 54.
Thank you for having me.
So first, what do you make of the very quick swearing in of Mr. Bio, which most people thought it could take at least a day or two?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised as well, but I think because of the recounting and people have been waiting for so long, they had to do something real quick so that to abate any kind of riot or any other misunderstandings, because for a while there are people from both sides claiming victory and dancing on the street, and I think it was the best thing to do so that people will know who is the leader and maybe start the healing process.
Yes. Now, the other candidate was the ruling party's candidate, Mr. Camara, has been around for a while. Mr. Maada Bio had in the past, actually, also run the military government there. What are the challenges he faces now as he takes the oath of office?
Well, I think right now his first priority should be to unite the country, because there has been a lot of dissatisfaction from even the leaders that were the presidential candidates, and the people were, for one reason or the other, were disgruntled because they wanted to see different changes in the country. And now that he's in power, he has to try to, like I told you before, form a coalition, a strong coalition of people that can help him rule the country.
Because the tight kind of numbers you've seen, the race has been tight all through. Does that signal that perhaps the country is divided almost in half in the way they see these different political parties?
Yes, I think so, and I believe it's because most of the time the incumbent, everything that is going on is going to be, pushed to them. But to tell you the truth, a lot of people had wanted to see this change for a long time.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of parties that were coming in, preaching this change. But in order for you to see the change, you have to be willing to change as well. That's why I thought in the beginning, the party is going to decide this election. It's either going to be the SLPP or the APC party. And for him, my hope is because he has the military experience, that he's going to be able to bring some kind of law and order.
Yeah.
Because for so long, it's lacking.
So there were about three things that were big issues here. There's the question of the economy, which has been doing really badly because of global forces, but also what the Ebola epidemic did to the country. And of course, there's the issue of peace and security. What does he have that is unique to him, you think, for those who voted for him, would make him the best person to tackle these issues, as opposed to the ruling party's candidate?
Well, the ruling party, I think one of the major problems they had was that people thought they did not handle the Ebola crisis well. And then we had the mudslides and things of those nature. And I think that the other problem is because there are laws in the country that were not enforced. For example, in terms of the building, so people could build just anywhere. So when the mudslide came, there were a lot of victims, and we did not have emergency protocol in the country. So a lot of people suffered. So I think what is unique with Maada Bio will be that he had a clean slate, at least in those terms, to make sure that he puts structures in place to make sure that this does not repeat itself. And
in terms of the expectations of the people of Sierra Leone, We saw last time, they hoped highly on the party that is now out of power. Do you think they might be expecting just rather too much, given the reality of the country, the realities that are in the country today?
I think actually a lot of people are scared. Believe it or not, they're scared because he is new. Yes, he's been a president before, but just for a few months. But the good thing is, at that time, even though he was much younger, we saw that when it was time for him to hand back the power, to give back the power to the democratic leader at the time, he did it well. So we're hoping that the integrity that he learned from the military training and all those other things will help him. But I think that Mada Bio has to form this coalition and bring different experts. Because yes, he's a military guy, but he has to be a little bit diplomatic in the way he deals with the rest of the people.
Yeah, I think perhaps he might make a new kind of turn a new page in Sierra Leonean politics looking forward. We do appreciate very much your insights.
No problem.
Ms. Kamara.
It was nice.
Well, that's Benedict Kamara, who's an analyst. She's also a native of Sierra Leone.
These comments I'm picking up so far coming from political analysts and experts really aren't getting into the detail. I mean, yes, we know Julius has got to unite the country. He's got to bring people together and parties together to form a good alliance to get the country on its feet. Yes, he's got to improve the economy. We know the economy is a serious issue. But improving it's the how and how one does that, and that's very important because it's not something that's just recently happened where things have gone wrong. There's been a long civil war. There's been horrific incidents like the Ebola crisis. There's been even the more recent mudslides, which have all had major impact on people and society and everything over there. Now, we know the country sits on wealth in terms of its mineral wealth, and yes, I think that needs to be developed in a sensible way so that people in the country benefit from those riches. That's very important. But I think there are other important things that need to be developed as well. There's agriculture, there's aquaculture, there's tourism. Julius made a very important point about education and developing that at primary and at secondary school level. And I think there's many other multiple industries that can be developed and need to take place on the ground in Sierra Leone. I also think there's probably going to be a huge skill-based shortage there, because I know a lot of Sierra Leone citizens that have left the country many years ago and are living in other parts of the world now. They've made their lives in Britain or in the United States of America and in other parts of the world. And a question is, will any of them still wish to go back to build the country again, because they've got new lives now with children, grandchildren living in other parts of the world. So that's a problem, because skills have left the country and there aren't too many skills that are coming into the country. Yes, we know the Chinese are trying to establish lots of developments there as well, with potentially they want to develop a new container port, and we know they are interested in a number of things. We know the Russians are interested in doing things there. We know there are various, including various European and American companies that want to do various things. Most of these things are exploiting the riches of the country for their own good, and not for the wealth of the people as a whole. So that balance is very critical. Let's have a drive around Sierra Leone now, or not around Sierra Leone, round Freetown. Let's drive around Freetown and have a look at what it's like for the real people that are on the ground in Freetown, and get a feel for for what the country is like, so that we can have a look and really see what the country needs. Here we go. Yeah, looking at what I see here as we drive down this street is there's quite a lot of unfinished development going on. Quite a few informal shacks and things up as well. This is all around the outskirts of Freetown. So it's very, there's a lot here that reminds me of Southeast Asia as well, in terms of informal trading going on and informal dwellings of various types. You can see radio masts there for mobile networks around as well. A lot of market stall trading going on, I see. Taxis all seem to be doing well, business-wise. So it's a bustling capital, but there seems to be a lack of modern infrastructure in place. Roads look okay, but could do with some modernization. Buildings look like they could sort of do with being restructured, and there could be more modernization. There's a lot of what I would call the old Sierra Leone of the 70s still here, and it looks like after the Civil War there hasn't been a great deal of development that's taken place in this part of the town. You can see the power masts around. There's a famous old cotton tree in Freetown, which I've yet to that might be in the distance. I'm not sure, but it could be. But yeah, you can see here that that clearly poverty is the major issue in Freetown, and these are the people that need to be feeling the benefit of new government and legislation coming in. So whatever happens, if there's got to be a creation of more jobs, more wealth, more opportunities for the masses in the country, for the country to prosper and for the country to do well. Clearly, lots of people from the country, from Sierra Leone, over the years have left. They've emigrated and they've gone and lived and worked in Europe, in the United States and other parts of the world, and have brought up their children abroad, brought up their grandchildren abroad, and they've gone. Now, I suspect, like many countries in a situation like this, there's been a bit of a brain drain, and therefore there's a lot of skills required to go back into the country to help the build. It's not just about money from the World Bank or from the UN or from foreign investors coming into Sierra Leone. It's not just about money, it's about skills, expertise and training. I mean, I know Julius is talking about education and improving education and continuing to give free education for all pupils, primary school and high school education, and developing the universities that are already there in Freetown. But there's obviously got to be a significant improvement in the skills base to improve the country, and it requires that careful balance. I mean, the country sits on a wealth of minerals, which everyone's been aware of for many, many years. I mean, the Sierra Leone is famous for the blood diamonds, as they were known during the times of the war. But this wealth that it sits on was only a few people were benefiting from it, and that's the whole problem with this type of infrastructure that's got to change, which Julius has got to overcome this, being able to ensure that it's not just a question of the country being raped of its wealth, of its minerals, etc., by conglomerates and rich Western powers, and a few people that sit and get very wealthy. And in Sierra Leone, it's got to somehow be developed so people can work and have jobs and security and education and good health services, because there's a lot of, you can see how the country is, in certain parts of it, how it is significantly under pressure with its utilities. The informal sectors are trading here. I mean, look, Coca-Cola are there, but they're everywhere. But there's lots of brands that are not available in Sierra Leone. I mean, some of the major motor brands are there, I know, some of them, but not all of them. There's certainly a job to be done between private enterprise and government to get a modernized thinking into place for the construction industry, for the agricultural industry, for the aquaculture industry, the fishing industry, as well as the mining industry. I mean, I can see opportunity here for retail development as well. Opportunities in retail development could be huge. I know there is one shopping centre in Freetown, which could be enhanced and improved to many degree. The tourism industry as well. There's a huge opportunity in tourism. I mean, Sierra Leone's got some very beautiful natural resources in terms of its beaches and its mountains. You can see in the background, and forests. But it's one is not in a position yet to really make it an international tourist destination. Yes, people who tend to go on holiday in Sierra Leone, who do know it well, because they are from that part of the world, it's a beautiful country, and I can see the people and the country are incredibly have got these incredible resources, but the infrastructure to back it all up and to help it and put it on the map needs to be managed and put in place. So it's not about just the money. It is very much about skills being in place to structure and make this country work. So I'm reviewing these pictures for the first time as you're seeing them. So yes, it's these are taken relatively recently in and around the Freetown area. Whether that's burning the vegetation, or if that's a planned burn, or if it's something that's out of control. Yeah, a lot of informal set. A lot of roads are, there are tarmac roads, but obviously you come off the main tarmac roads, you're onto a lot of these shale and mud roads. So obviously when the rains are there, it's makes it even more difficult in all these informal dwellings. Look, I'm used to these informal dwellings. I see them in every country in Africa I've been to, and in Southeast Asia as well. So this low-cost informal housing is everywhere across Africa and across Asia. It's nothing new. Thank you for watching. I'll be in touch again very shortly with some more information on Sierra Leone and Freetown. So talk to you again soon. Bye bye.